Hey guys, real quick before this video starts, if you've clicked on it, you've probably noticed that it is freaking long. That's because I was just talking this whole subject through, like my sketching and my thumbnailing process, with RODUTCHII, who's my collab partner for this video. And we were just, talking, and we just gathered so much footage and so much good information that I thought, hey, I didn't want to just cut this down and just cut a lot of this out, so that's why I've decided to just release it as is. So this is a very different style video. It's more like a live stream, I guess. Maybe something you put on in the background whilst you're sketching, maybe pick up some good tips and stuff. So yeah, feel free to just put this on the background or to watch it in parts and stuff. So yeah, anyway, have fun. I really quite enjoyed filming this video, and maybe I'll do something like this again in the future, who knows. Anyway, please enjoy the video, and yeah, learn stuff. Hey everybody, it's SaskiaSketches, and today I'm here with RODUTCHII. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. I'm a person who likes art. I've been doing this for like 8 months. I like concept art. I do creatures, characters, and like this time I've made like cheetah-esque creature, and this is what started this thread that we so I think you're gonna like guide me for through the bit.
Yeah, I gave you some advice on it, didn't I?
Yeah. Especially like gesture on my character, because I did something wrong, which I didn't use too much thumbnailing, and then I went straight to drawing and rendering, and then at the end I found myself in a pitfall where I couldn't fix myself.
Right, and that's when we decided that's when I got really excited about thumbnailing and started explaining all these things, and I was like, hey, maybe I should just make a YouTube video about it. And then so I asked, hey, did you want to, make a YouTube video together? And you were like, yeah, sure. So here we are. In this video, I'll just be explaining some things about my process. This is not the only way to do it. This is not the perfect way to do it. There's probably way better, flows for some other people, and people may be doing it differently, and it's just a personal preference, so it doesn't really matter it doesn't matter whether you do it in the exact same order as me. It just matters that you do it right. So you do thumbnails, and I like to break them up into smaller things like design, pose, composition, values, colors, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. Today I thought, hey, how about I make a character and show you how I go about that. And yeah, RODUTCHII's here to ask for clarification if I maybe accidentally skip over something, or if I'm doing something that doesn't quite make sense. So yeah.
I'll be literally the viewer, and you're gonna be the mentor in a way.
Yeah, so the first thing that I'll be doing is just like really quick sketches of the animal that I want to make a character out of. If you can already tell what it is, can you or not?
Horse?
No.
I mean,
this will help.
there's not too much detail right now, so...
Not yet, so...
Oh, what is it called? The lion seal or something?
It's a walrus.
Okay, I don't know what's that, to be honest.
It's a big blobby seal thing.
Does it like live in Antarctica and stuff?
Not sure where it lives exactly, but it's a pretty cool thing. So I wanted to make a character out of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So now you just like did some some quick sketches and you already have a creature. What did you think like in the process? Because for me, if I do this, I need to watch like reference and then put some landmarks like legs, distance between them, head shape, etc. And apparently, you just like put it there. I don't know how you went about it, but to be honest.
Yeah, so basically I just I really liked I think I just saw a photograph of one of these guys and I was like, oh hey, they look like fun. I want to make a character out of one, and that's how I started. So I didn't do any sketching previously. I don't think I've ever drawn a walrus before.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just like, now the first thing that I'm doing is just, getting a hang of this creature. So I'm drawing very quick, like, gestures, basically, and just, to get a feel for, oh, hey, how does this creature look? How does this creature move? How does this creature work? And if I make a mistake, like what I did right now, this head is way too big, I move on, right? So it doesn't matter. Oh, that's the wrong tool. So that's what I mean. So
yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'm not going to fix it, right? So I'm just going to put it here, and I'm going to move on to the next sketch.
And sorry, I want to ask, do you think about like, what is it called, bones under like the skin when you draw these, or you just think about gesture like?
No, I think about the shape. So I'm not so concerned with the like the muscle structure and the how do you say that, the muscle structure, the bones, the skeleton, stuff like that. I'm not really that concerned with it. I'm more concerned with the shape language that I have here. So I'm like, okay, where does the, because this animal is quite like blubby, right? It has a lot of mass, a lot of fat on its bones, and I'm just looking, okay, where does this where is it most prominent, and what kind of shape does it take? So right, I've noticed, okay, so there's this, it bulges out right about here, and it stoops down right about here, and then there's a thing there, right, and it goes like that, and it builds up around the edge of the. And I'm just looking, I'm just observing, and I'm just looking, hey, okay, so how does this work? Where can I, what kind of things can I make out? I'm just, observing, basically. I'm looking, okay. Yeah, what are the shapes? What are the shapes? And no, I wouldn't say I nailed it at all. I'm just looking, and I'm going through them real quick, right? So it's about, I wouldn't say this is perfect at all, but that doesn't matter. What it's about is it's about getting an idea, getting a feel for this creature, and for how it tends to look.
Yeah, and this is what I this is what I kind of lacked at the beginning, because when I drew it, I was just thinking about every bone, every muscle,
right,
and that kind of like stalled me in a way, and
didn't let me. Because you could spend hours upon hours analyzing a creature's like anatomy, and basically it's because you're never going to get it right if you're going to like if you're interpreting it and you're making a character out of it and you're changing it because you were like making like a creature. It's never going to like actually look exactly anatomically correct unless you like study it perfectly and always like you've spent like years studying this specific creature. It will never look exactly the same, and that's fine, right? What you need to do is you need to capture the essence of the creature.
Yeah, so I was saying that something else that I noticed I was doing wrong at the start is I was drawing literally like leg and then maybe the stomach and then the other leg. But what you're doing is like drawing big shapes and then you you draw like small
Exactly.
features, and I didn't do that.
Exactly. That's very, very important with not just with animals and creatures, but that's very important with everything that you draw. I call it my first and my second sketch layer, and like regulars to my channel will have already like will have heard me talking about this a lot. But I
Yeah.
always do a first sketch layer where I start with the big shapes, and until I get before I get the proportions right, I do not move on to the details, right? Because you'll end up with something where you draw like a really pretty eye, but it will be in the wrong spot, right? Or it just won't
Right.
go with
Right.
the thing, and you'll get discouraged because you drew such a pretty eye, but you can't do anything about it because it's in the wrong spot and you can't use it. With digital, it's a bit different
Forgive.
because you can just grab stuff and you can move stuff around. But I have a traditional background, so that if you do that, you can't get away with it, right? Because you can't just
Yeah.
pick something up and put it somewhere else. That's not how it works in traditional art. So that's why it's even more important in traditional, but it's the principle that matters when you're doing it in digital, because it will save you a lot of trouble, because you'll be able to focus on one thing at a time, basically. Because if you're doing all those things at once, this is why I'm also doing this, right? This is also one of the key things about why thumbnailing is so important, because you're not focusing on everything at once, you're focusing on one thing at a time. And if you focus on one thing at a time, you'll be able to get you'll be able to do all those things much more effectively than if you were to try and balance them all at once.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like you're like spinning plates, right? I don't know if you've ever seen anybody do that, but then there's like there's like 20 plates spinning all at once. That's 5 of them.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
if someone is trying to keep all of them spinning, they need to like flip between them constantly and check on them constantly, right? It's a lot easier if you just focus on one and get that one spinning, and then once it's spinning, move on to the next, right?
Right.
That won't
Exactly.
work if you're spinning plates, but that's the principle that you need to that's the thing that you need to keep in mind, because if you're juggling all those different things around, the quality goes down of the individual aspects of your drawing.
Exactly, and
So
that's what
yeah, that's what I'm
usually
doing
happens.
now.
I want to say like that's what usually happens when you zoom in and you focus on one area, and then when you're done and you spend hours on it, you notice that it's so out of proportions,
Right.
and you just like it can go back. I don't know. It just feels it sucks basically.
Yeah, it's discouraging, right? So it's much easier to just get the shapes in, basically, and then focus on the detail, because you'll know the detail will be in the right place.
For animals like these, like it's simpler to draw them than actually like cats, dogs, because we as humans we see those like especially felines, we saw them more than other animals that we're not as experts in, and small proportionally like differences can be more noticeable. So like for example, if you draw a hippopotamus, it's going to be easier than drawing a cat, because a cat is we're more used to it and how it looks, just like a human. So how do you actually get proportions right so that the animals actually looks like what it is?
That's a good question. I think it just comes with practice. It's really one of those things that you just yeah, how do you explain that? It's you focus on how big things are related to one another. So if I look at this this one that I'm drawing now, right? I can already tell, hey, this head or this snout is too big, right? But I'll keep that in mind with the next one, because if you look at this one, the first one that I drew, you'll definitely see that this has more seal vibes. It's much more slender. It's not as
Yeah,
blubby.
why.
The face, it's much more. It's not as walrus-esque, right? It looks more like a different animal. But if you look at this one that I drew, this one looks a lot more like a walrus. This one looks a lot more like the animal that I was trying to draw. And if I look at the differences between this one and that one, it's proportions mainly, right? Because if you look at this one, the head is much smaller, and the blub thing on the neck, this shape is much wider, much chunkier, basically. So that's what I'm trying to keep in mind with each next one that I draw, until I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I think I understand this animal a little bit better than I did when I first started.
Exactly, and you can actually see it through like the drawings.
Yeah.
One thing that I usually do and I try to keep it that way, is like draw small and not actually big from the start, and then maybe go to detail. And I know this is the same thing with like what we were talking earlier, but I think it's really important every time you put the pencil on the paper, you need to think like draw small, because if you, I don't know, if you focus too much, the drawing just like loses dynamism. Is that the word? Like
Yeah,
starts
dynamic
looking at
motion,
yeah,
movement.
loses like the dynamic feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily about drawing small, it's just about keeping the proportions in mind, right? So I'm drawing this one bigger than this one, but what I'm focusing on right now is, like, I went into the detail with the face a little bit more, but what I have here, this is my first sketch layer, basically. Here is my my main shapes. I'm like, okay, I've got this big shape here, that is the neck, right? And then I have the fins on both sides, and I have the back side, right, and the head. And then I go into more detail, right? So then we've got the nostrils, and we've got the little slit here. We've got the shape of the nozzle and the eyes and stuff like that. And I really try to focus on not putting in any detail yet, because you see, I haven't given any of these pupils. I didn't even give these ones a face. Or like eyes. I'm just focusing on, hey, what is the motion? What's the line of action? What is the shape and the I don't know, the how does this animal look? What does this animal do? How does this animal move? You know, it's kind of looking like, what is this thing that I'm drawing? And I'm not looking in a way like, okay, I think this is what it does. I'm looking, can I see evidence, right? Because if you look at this one doesn't have any back fins, and this one doesn't have either. That's because they were obscured by ice, and I didn't draw anything there because I couldn't see anything there. So that's very important. If you can't see something, do not make it up. Just look at a different reference and see if you can find it.
Oh, alright. That's a good like keep in mind. I don't know. What other issues did I have like on my drawings when you saw that?
I think a big thing was that you were combining references in a not so productive way, right? Because you had the back legs and the front legs, and they were out of sync. Because because you probably looked at a couple different references of cheetahs running, and you try to combine them, right? Which is really good, which is a good thing to do. But you, I think you didn't pay enough attention to how the animal worked beforehand, right? Because if I were to draw like a walrus right now, and not pay any attention to how I noticed it work, I'll start like doing things where I think in the way that I think they might work, right? So if I were to draw like the back fins, I might draw them like that, but then it might look weird, and I won't know why, right? And maybe people will point it out, like, hey, you know, this doesn't look good. And I'm like, okay, but why doesn't it look good? I didn't see a reference for this, so I don't know how it was positioned. I thought this made logical sense, or this looked good to me when I was drawing it. But if you look at the different references, like here, you'll see that the fins are actually pointed this way, and that looks better.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's about looking at different references and kind of seeing how does the animal work, how does the animal move, right, before you start making things up.
Yeah, I found some like issues, especially. So you sent me like some pictures of like cheetahs moving, and you said that you can like actually study it and apply like. It's more of like going deep into the subject and knowing how like muscle works and this and that. And like what I'm trying to say, does this what you're doing right now help with knowing how animals like move and interact with their environments, like regarding their shapes, etc.? I don't know how to explain it.
It's more like shape language, what I'm focusing on here. So when I'm going to do my final piece, I'm probably going to just draw something more static, because I'm only drawing walruses that are like sitting upon like the beach, right, or upon like a rock or something. I'm not drawing one whilst it's moving. I'm studying at the moment. I'm studying how they rest, right, how they look like when they sit still. Because when an animal is moving, I think somebody else in the Discord said it as well, they're going to be more difficult to draw, because there's going to be motion blur, and there's going to be you know, stretching and contorting, especially when they're moving very, very fast, like cheetahs, for example. It's going to be more challenging to draw than an animal that's just standing there, because if you were to draw a cheetah that's just like standing like that, it's much easier to draw the cheetah and to get a cheetah feel than if you were to draw some cheetah that's like actually like dashing forward, right? And it's it's more difficult, because this way, with the first one, you can study much more, like, okay, so what does this thing actually look like, before you start imagining what it might look like when it's moving.
So here, like if we talk about movement, is it the right place to start like implementing skeletons? Because they are very helpful to like show motion without going to too much detail and like muscles, etc.
Skeletons are very, very detailed, because the humans have like, what is it, 206 bones, and animals will have something like same-ish, right, or more or less. But the skeletons, they're also quite difficult to draw, because they consist of many like small shapes, right? If you have a rib cage, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, like however many ribs that you have. And if you draw a skeleton, what I find is I start with the basic shapes as well. So like if I were to draw like a rib cage, you saw it just now, I go like this, right, before I make the ribs. So I wouldn't say, well, if it's helpful for you, by all means do it. But what I find is that if you're drawing a skeleton, you're just studying the inside of the animal and not what the animal looks like from the outside, and that might actually seep into your drawing as well. Because in the end, if you're not drawing a skeleton creature, why would you study the skeleton, right? If you're drawing like a skeleton monster, then by all means study the skeleton, because that's what you're going to draw. But I'm not drawing a walrus skeleton, especially if you have something as bulky as this. The skeleton is going to look a whole lot different from the animal itself. If you're drawing something more like a cheetah, they have as they'll look a lot more like this skeleton. But if I were to look up a walrus skeleton, I'll just do that after I finish this sketch. But they'll look a lot different, because the shapes are because of all this fat, right? It's it will look different because there's not that much fat in the skeleton itself, right? Because the skeleton is just the bones. It's just the base of the. Because it could very well be that you have a skull and then you have a rib cage and it's here, right? It's this big. And then all that fat around it, that's where it's at. If I want to draw an accurate walrus, I'm not going to pay attention to the skeleton very much. I'm just going to pay attention to the shape of the walrus itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Making total sense. This is actually helping a lot, and I hope it's helping the viewers too.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I said this because like when you draw humans, you actually draw like either skeletons or mannequins, and it's really helpful to like draw them in motion and be alive instead of being static. And I thought maybe if you apply that to animals, it might work, but you're right, because something like this, which has a lot of fat and muscles and creases, you can't actually depend on the skeleton or mannequin too much, and you might fall into proportion issues, which
yeah. Here's a really good reference. This one here, this is the rib cage. This is the side of a rib cage, and then you've got the spine and the pelvis and stuff and the tail, and then this is the size of the animal. See?
Oh yeah.
So if I draw this, if I focus on this, I really think if I were to study the skeleton, I wouldn't have a good understanding of the animal itself, because I'd be drawing the ribs and this part, I'd be drawing it way too small, and I wouldn't understand why, because it made sense with the skeleton, but you know, like this, you'll see that it doesn't make sense and it's not helpful, and it might actually be detrimental and be holding you back.
To be honest, I had some issues, even though I studied skeletons before I went into like the whole animal and drawing it from the outside. Even though I knew what was under it, honestly didn't help me that much to show forms and yeah. And
oh, hold on, I gotta like save this thing. Wasn't saving my. Uh-oh, now Kratos not responding.
What is this?
I'll just take a screenshot real quick. Ooh.
Oh, this.
Okay, now it's saving. Good. Right. Okay.
I love the middle one.
Yeah.
And
you're seeing, right, that I'm getting a much better understanding of walruses just by doing this, right? Because these, I really like this sketch, this one, and this one too. They look a lot more like walruses, this one as well, than this one, the one that I started with, and this one, and this one.
From what I can tell, it's the proportions. They are way more right.
Right.
And then
see? So that's what I'm focusing on right now. I'm thumbnailing. This is thumbnailing. I'm thumbnailing the proportions, and I'm just looking at the animal and seeing, okay, so what are the basic shapes? What are the proportions, right? Where can I, where can I improve when it comes to my first sketch and the sketch that I did just now? What is it that doesn't entirely look walrus-like yet, and how can I improve that? And after I do this, I'll probably do like some close-ups of fins and study, okay, how do I do the fins? Because I haven't seen that, like I've not, now I'm just drawing them like this, right? I'm not putting any detail in them yet. I'm just focusing on the main shapes.
Yeah, and I think this is really helpful to say. They always like tell you to use like squares, balls, and like spheres, etc. to like help yourself when you draw form and I can't do as good as you, so I'm really noticing it. You draw more like organic shape
Hmm.
in like three-dimensional things, but without like having any foundations. I don't understand how you do it. I don't know how to explain it. Like you're drawing like the shapes very organically and in the right perspective. I don't know if I'm making sense. My English is
Yeah,
not the best.
no, it's fine. It makes sense. Yeah, so it's I'm just drawing blobs basically. So I'm not I'm not, how do you say that? I'm forgetting the word. I'm not limiting myself to circles and squares, right? I'm drawing something that looks circular. I'm drawing something that looks square. Like if you were to look at this one, like this, I have this shape, right? And if you were to draw it like as a shape, it would look like that. You see what I mean? But I'm not really so concerned with making or get like geometric shapes that I understand. Like hey, I understand that this looks something like this, right? If it would look like that
Yeah.
part, like something like that. But I am mostly focusing on what I see. So when I look at this animal, I see this kind of shape, right? I see this kind of shape, and I don't see a square. I break it up into smaller pieces. I'm like, okay, I see this kind of shape here, and I can, break that down. I see this kind of shape here, right? This is the stomach and the behind and stuff, and this is the fin, right? And this is a shoulder, right? I'm not like so concerned with making it exactly like a geometric shape that I'm familiar with. So I wouldn't say that that is a oval. It's just a blob. So when I'm working with these like rough shapes for the first sketch layer, I'm just focusing on breaking the thing down into shapes that and into just shapes. So I'm not really concerned with making them shapes that I know. I'm just concerned with making them shapes.
Yeah, I had as a beginner, I had the issue with like when I draw, I literally draw everything I see, and exactly, I don't like turn it into small shapes and big shapes and like make it easier on myself. And
Yeah,
I
so
have a
like you
lot of
see, for example,
yeah,
you see, oh hey, this thing has whiskers. You'll start, okay, so if I'm doing something like this, then maybe this looks like,
right,
yeah. So like, don't do that, do this, and then do the whiskers after, right? It's about getting the
exactly.
big shapes in first, and then the
The
and
small
then do
details.
the details. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is an issue that I fell into for a long time. Now, yes, I was like I overcame it, but I know it's that important. And when I learned to see everything in shapes, it was like a whole other like door that opened for me. To be honest.
Right. And it's very important to do that in your sketching, right? To make sure that you keep your proportions and your details separate, so that you do one sketch layer and then do a second sketch layer, so that you can get an idea of where your proportions are, and then start adding in the details, right?
Yeah, making total sense.
So that way you
I
don't end up with the disaster where you draw the eye and the eye looks really good, but then it's in the wrong place.
yeah, and I need to say something else because it's very important. When I started studying, maybe I just did it myself, but I was very concerned to um, not to dirty my paper. I try to be professionist in everything. And
Mhm.
one of the best things I learned through these experiences is that you need to how do you say, you need to get detached from your work. You need to like be more loose, and when you're learning, you try to set goals. Maybe just like write them on paper, and you
Hmm.
like I'm gonna concentrate on perspective, maybe like organic shapes or whatever.
Right.
And if you do that, you're gonna see a huge like level up of like speed and of scale, etc. And don't expect to draw everything well and good, but
Exactly. Because look what I was doing.
draw.
Look what I was doing. The first one, I said, okay, I know it doesn't look good, but I'm not going to fix it. I'm going to move on,
Exactly.
and I'm going to draw other walruses.
Exactly, and this like opens a whole other thing. You can actually now draw something from memory if you wanted to. If you keep
Mhm. If I
repeating,
keep
as
repeating, if I were to be doing this for longer than I have, and if I were to do, then I would be able to do this. You know, and now I can say, okay, now I have a bit of a better understanding of this thing. I could try, you know, drawing something. I could try combining two references, right? I could try, okay, I could do, you know, maybe one that's sitting like this, but I'll have its head facing this direction instead of that direction, right? So now I'm
yeah,
actually going to redraw the picture that I used for this reference and see how much, and see where we're at now, right?
yeah. And like you said yesterday, a good thing you said. Um, what was it like? Oh my god, I forgot. What was it? Something doesn't make perfect, but makes
Oh yeah,
uh,
practice makes perfect. No, practice makes progress, not perfect. There you go.
exactly. I loved it because we as like artists we expect to be good as soon as we put paper on uh, pencil on paper, and
Hmm.
it's actually so false. Everyone like that is really good. He has like probably 10,000 bad drawings, and if you get them out of your system, you get really good. It just takes time, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
And you need to draw a lot.
See, and now I'm doing something wrong. I'm putting pressure on myself to be better than the last one, and that's not good. I need to just focus on this photograph and try it, and I do not need to focus on making it good. See, so like
Right.
it's about catching yourself doing stuff. You're like, okay, so I know that this is not good. I'm going to change that. I'm not going to focus on this anymore. I'm going to put my phone over this sketch. I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to look at the photograph, right?
Yeah, so
So
what you did was it like you were like copying the main shapes that you had in mind that you've been drawing again and again and again to like
mhm.
get it right?
Yeah,
Is that what you?
I'm just looking at the picture, and I'm looking at, okay, so where do I recognize this shape? I recognize that from other pictures, so I'm going to draw them. I'm going to draw it the way that I imagined it, the way that I see it, right? And now that I've seen it from different angles, I can imagine what it looks like from this angle a little bit better.
100% same. That's what I did when like so I did probably like 50 drawings of like guns, and then I put a challenge on myself to like draw another like maybe 20 from like my mind. And I didn't believe it myself, but I actually knew where things would go because first of all, I just draw like a square in perspective, and
Hmm.
then I put landmarks that I remembered in their places, and at the end, it just like comes out as an actual object.
Yeah,
Like
you break it down, and that's how you get good. Yeah, if you
that's
break it
how.
down, you make sure the proportions are okay first. Um, then move on to detail, right? It's
Mhm,
really quite simple. It's the same thing over and over again. You get the proportions first, and then you move on to your details.
exactly. I wonder what else I could have like avoided when I did my drawing when you saw it, because I know I had especially because what I did at the end was like mix a cheetah's anatomy with a those like fast running dogs. What are they called?
Oh yeah, the
Sorry?
greyhounds. So
Yeah,
you can actually do that, and it's cool if you do that, but you need to then, like, you know, I think you need to understand both animals first before you do that.
yeah, because I actually didn't study the dog. I just did the cheetahs for maybe 3 days, 4 days, and then when I went to the final thing, I just like drew a cheetah's body and just changed the legs from
Mm-hmm.
reference, to be honest. And then when I went to render, it was like, oh god, I put so much time and I can't go back now.
Right. So that's why we start like this. So see, if
This
you look
is
at this one, looks much more walrusy than this one, than the one that I did first, right?
yeah, it's amazing how like simple things can like get you. I don't know, get you caught. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the repetition is really works. I wish I did this before.
Yeah. So now you can
I,
do it. Now you can do it when you next time you draw an animal.
of course, yeah, and I hope this with like people that are watching it and maybe they don't know this yet, they're gonna start like correct. I wish I knew this before I went like to
Mm-hmm.
to job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well,
now, so it's not like now you gotta focus on the things that you learned instead of on the things that you didn't know before, right? So you gotta focus on, hey, I didn't know this before, but now I know it. I'm going to do better next time instead of, oh, I wish I did better last time.
right.
That's the mindset you gotta get yourself into, basically.
And above mindset, you did like say to you said something about like don't compare yourself to other artists.
Right.
There is no good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
true.
don't know. Yeah, I wish I did this before. I'm regretting it.
So don't focus on the regret. Yeah? Focus on, hey, ooh, next time I'm going to do so much better. Next time it's going to be so much easier, right?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and
now that I've done this, and I kind of have an idea of how, hey, this is what a walrus, looks like. If I wanted to draw like the final thing in in motion, I would go on to motion sketches now. I'd look up walrus swimming, and I'd look at pictures of what it looks like when it's in motion, right? But now I'm not doing that because I just want to draw a I just want to draw one sitting now because that's enough for now, right?
yeah,
So this is what I'm going to this is what I'm going to where I'm going to stop for this phase. I'm going to move
yeah,
on to the next thumbnails next, and that's going to be the pose,
yeah.
like the
Something came
specific
to my
pose I want to
mind.
go with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something came to my mind while you were saying that. We as artists, we do something very bad, and that's like going up in levels. Like if you go to train, you're not gonna go one day and put like 20 kilos, and then the other day you're gonna do like 100. You're gonna do
Mhm.
20, 25. And as artists, and maybe I fall into this, or we all fall into this, but for for example, one day we're gonna draw a cup, another day we're gonna draw a car. There is a lot to learn between those two things, and
Mhm.
if you jump, you're gonna fail so hard that you might get demotivated to do other things, and it's something that I fell into, to be honest, when I
Right.
started.
Mhm. Yeah, and that happens, and that's okay. But you just got to or basically just focus on recognizing that you're doing that and doing something about it, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
it's, to be honest, it's just really good to like get away from your work, and you don't think of your work as yourself. If someone critiques it, it's the work. It's not like insulting you or
Right.
something, and you just like move on, move on, move on. If you
Mhm.
keep stagnated with something that you made, it's just not that good. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, if you're like, oh, but I made this, right? It's very understandable that you would get into that mindset because it's so personal. Art is a very personal thing, and I may, because you put in so much work and you put in so much effort, it's difficult when someone tells you, hey, you didn't do this right. And it's okay to feel those feelings, but if you really want to improve, you move on, right? You don't treat this piece as your best piece ever. You treat it as an indication of where you are now. And if you really want to improve, you focus on that feedback and you take that feedback and you make the next one even better. And then, so maybe someone will have something else to say about it and you're like, ugh, but I worked so hard on it, right? I did it much better than last time. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you focus on that feedback in the same way that you did with the other, and you use it as a motivation and as a drive forward. Which is still, difficult. And if it gets like, if nobody ever recognizes your growth and they're always critiquing you, then, that's toxic and that's not something that you should be involving yourself into. But usually when people critique you, they want to help you get better, right? And that's good to recognize.
Yeah, that's when you need a really good like community that you need to join. Like for example, the one I did, and I found a lot of help from a lot of people, and I didn't have a bad mindset at the start. I knew that when they're helping me, they actually wanted me to see, they wanted to see me somewhere else, like a higher level. So they put effort into it, and if you actually say, yeah, yeah, it's wrong, but it's my style. No, every singer has one style. It's a wrong style. You need to accept failure. Failure makes success, and if you keep repeating,
Exactly.
it's better. Yeah.
Very good. Couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah. Hopefully, it just helps people that they are watching.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
It's but don't be hard on yourself if you're having trouble with it, because it's personal. Art is very personal, and it's okay that you struggle with it. It's just important to keep in mind that that you're not being rude to people if they're trying to help you. It's also very important not to give unsolicited criticism, because that can come across as very rude. It's if someone is actually maybe someone is doesn't have the highest self-esteem, and maybe they don't care as much about improving, and they just want to do art because they think it's fun. And if you give them criticism and you tell them, oh hey, this doesn't look good, or this could be better, stuff like that, it could discourage people, and it's not a good thing to do. So just keep that in mind, and give people criticism if they're asking for it, and give good criticism, something that they can actually do something with.
True. And there is another thing that you need to always think of when you're starting is criticism, or like critiques that you get aren't always like correct. Sometimes you need to know from who is it coming. There is like people that just want to give critiques because it's fun. They're helping people, but most of the time it's not actually correct. So it's really good to be like considerate, but not that much.
Right.
If that makes sense. There's
That's true. Like sometimes somebody might say something like, okay, this doesn't feel right. Right, I do not know what's wrong with it, but it doesn't feel right. And like, okay, what can I do with that, right? And like, well, maybe it felt right to me, and I like the way it looks. And sometimes those people just don't know any better. And also preferences, they're different for different people. So something that I might find aesthetically pleasing, somebody else might be like, I don't like that as much. And
100%.
so if you're like trying to distinguish the good criticism from the bad criticism, always look for like the more specific somebody is, usually the better the criticism. Because if someone's
Right.
like, oh hey, this tiny little bump should be there, and I look, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. And if I keep it in mind next time, I'm like, oh yeah, I should like smooth that out more, right? So, but if someone's like, oh, I don't like the way it looks, or like it doesn't look right, I'm like, okay, well, can't really do anything with that, or other than just keep drawing walruses until it looks right.
Yeah, and there is a good skill that most professionals value so much, and it's like having a critique eye. Sometimes you don't have people to show your work to, or sometimes it's
Mhm.
confidential, or like literally you can't get feedback on it. So, like, how do you say, like, oh my god, my English, yeah, it's gone. Sometimes you need to make feedback for yourself in a way. I don't know
Yeah,
how
you
to
need to
say.
critique yourself. You need to look critically at your own work. Um, yeah, and it's a
It's
really
very
good.
valuable.
It's a good skill if you can do that. Yeah. Okay. So these were my gestures. So now I'm going to go on to design.
Right.
So I'm going to take the sketch that I like best, which is this one. Whoop. Control C.
Yeah,
Control
you know
V.
why I think
Oh.
that one looks the best? I mean, I think it's because it has like sharp shapes in a round body. The
Yeah.
animal is round, and you contrasted it with a hard shape.
Mhm.
It's definitely my favorite too.
Yeah. So I also think that I made some I did some more detail on this one. That's why I like it more as well. So I'm going to take this one, copy paste it a couple times, and I'm just going to like do this, right? I'm going to oh
I'm excited to see. I don't
yeah,
know what you're
so
gonna do.
I'm just going to make sure that I have a couple here, so that I can just, you know, start to scribble away, basically.
I wish it's
I'm going to
traditional.
combine, well, yeah, it's easier than traditional for sure, because if I were to do this traditionally, I'd have to just draw it again and again and again.
Right.
Right, okay, so now I have a layer with like 6 of them. And I'm just going to draw over them. I'm going to, because I wanted to make, I don't know if I said this yet, I'm going to make an elemental animal, and this guy's element will be water. And that's the only thing that I had planned out, right? I had planned out, okay, I want a walrus, and I think I want it to be a water elemental.
Really fitting.
Yes. So now I'm
So
just going
how?
to like grab a color and just, you know, do like my first idea when I thought of water walrus, and I'm going to just draw it. I'm going to
So now
like,
you're gonna do a blocking?
yeah, I'm basically just going to be like, okay, so I like, where do I want the colors basically, because I know all the water elementals, they are blue, right? And that's the
Sure.
main that's the main like, design trait. They're blue. So where do I want the blue? Do I want the blue everywhere, or do I just want the blue on the top of the animal? Because some of the I'm just gonna do this on a layer below. So where do I want the blue, right? Where do I want it? And I'm just going to try out a couple things. And I'm like, okay, so I think this might look good, and I'll try that. And my initial idea is the one that I get out first, because once you get your initial idea out, it's very, it's highly likely that you'll come up with something better, because this is the first thing that you think of is usually not the most creative thing. And you know, sometimes because I have a already, like I said, style for the water elementals, I'm like, okay, but I like this one the best because it looks most like a water elemental to me, and that's fine too. Yeah, so this was my first start. Okay, and my first thought, okay, it'll just have the blue on the top, and I'll get less intense as it fades into white on like his underside, right?
Yeah, and usually like
yeah.
just get clearer with time, so you don't need to worry like about what you're drawing. Just like gets clearer with time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yellow.
Yeah, for the eyes, because all the water elementals have yellow eyes.
Alright.
Yeah, so that's my first thing, my first thought, right? But then I can like, okay, well, I can also pick a different blue, and I can do something like this maybe, and maybe I like this much better, right? So it's about trying to decide, okay, so I know the parameters that I have is like blue body and yellow eyes. That's the style of the water elementals. That's what they all look like. But there's many different ways to do that.
Of course. And there's like in like movies especially, there's patterns in creatures and like animals that they showcase, and that's one of the things that make something very how do you say, like special. You recognize it like very fast, and if you use the same pattern in another thing you make, people will notice it and they're gonna call it out.
Right.
In design, it's very, you have so much chances to like contrast color, shapes, in design like patterns. I don't know. There's so much you can do, and it's really bad if you like stop at the first idea you do.
Right,
Really,
because
really
maybe your sixth idea will be the best, right? I've also had many instances where my first idea was indeed the best, and you need to also let that be a thing. Because, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, but I like my first idea so much. I think my first idea is actually the best out of all these. Then, you know, don't be afraid to go with your first idea.
Yeah. This what like happened to me with my last concept. I liked it so much and I was happy about it, but as soon as I drew another one, I was like, oh no, this is better. Don't trust yourself.
Right.
Don't. I love those like little dots on his arm.
Yeah, because you said pattern. It's like, oh yeah, patterns. They exist.
Oh yeah.
Right, so I'm just, you know, doing some things that I'm brainstorming basically on paper. I'm like, okay, this could work, this could be cool. And, you know, maybe it is cool, maybe it's not. And just move on to the next one, and after you finish, you're like, hey, you know, I actually like this better, or I'll actually like this better, or maybe you just haven't found anything that you like yet, and you're like, okay, well, I'll just, you know, move on to something else, and or maybe take some of the things that I like about the different ones and apply that to a new one.
Yeah, this is already my favorite.
Yeah, me
Just
too. I like this one the best.
And we wouldn't have found it if you didn't.
I would not have found it because I would have gone with this.
Yeah.
Right?
And like something about colors, they are very important. Like colors have voices. Just like if you use sharp edges in a character, it means he's like dangerous colors is the same thing. Like
Exactly.
I heard like doctors use the green color because when someone sees the green color, something
Right.
automatically makes you feel relaxed.
If I were to do this,
Mhm.
this gives a whole different vibe than this,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
This one looks much more aggressive, whereas this one looks much more like dangerous in a kind of steady way, if that makes sense. It's like this one will come after you, and that one will bite you if you get too close. You know, stuff like that really makes a big difference.
Yeah, and something important too in design. You try. There is a rule like to not have more than three main details, like the one you did earlier with the really deep blue. It
Hmm.
has a pattern. So number one, the body color, and then the eyes yellow. So
Yeah.
it's not too much saturated. There's a lot of like beginners I see, and I
Hmm.
was doing that too. And I'm not saying that I'm not doing
Yeah.
it again.
If I were to
It's
do
like
more, do more dots like this. Okay, I guess it kind of works. If you do it with a lighter tone, but if I were to pick this blue and I were to like give him extra details, maybe I'll give him stripes, right? It will look cluttered. It won't look as good. And this looks like shading now, so it doesn't look too bad. But that
yeah,
is not
because you
something
do.
that, yeah, it's not something that you want.
It's really important to let the eye rest.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah, keep it simple. Because I often see like super cool, but very detailed art, and I don't like art when it's that detailed because it feels like it's too cluttered, right? And you may have drawn something that's super cool, but if there's too much detail, then I just get worn out just by looking at it.
yeah, and there's another thing to that. Like, for example, there's something that's called I think trypophobia for like people that
Yeah,
hate
tiny
walls.
holes, right?
So, and the way you do it is to have a character with a lot of detail and holes, and that gives you a creepy feeling,
Hmm.
and that comes with like your eyes can't rest. This thing looks not normal. Just
Hmm.
yeah, and that's what I used on my last one. I tried when you like design is very I don't know. It has a lot of like potential and you can play with it a lot. But it just takes time to learn what you have to do, etc.
Hmm.
This one looks good too.
Yeah, I'm going
I don't know which one I choose.
to. Yeah, so if I'm quiet, I'm just like, there's not really that much like rhyme or reason to what I'm doing right now. I'm just like doing something that I think might look cool and just throwing ideas out there, right?
Of course. Yeah, so you're doing the opposite.
Yeah. So like with this one, I had like the darkest on the top, and I have the like the lightest on the top, and see how it looks, right?
I think like when you design, there's potential into like taking reference from life and not actually other people's work
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes it do rub off on your work and it just looks like a fan art of someone else's work.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of people that actually don't know that like nature has so many incredible things like even artists can do them and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, be, how do you say, like, be choosy about your reference? I don't know the word.
Yeah, be picky.
Be, yeah, be really picky and try to use real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a good thing.
No. As soon as I did it, I was more like original.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so do you have any questions, or? Because I feel like I'm
I
being
think
very
we,
quiet.
yeah, because I think I got what I wanted, and hopefully other people will too.
Mm-hmm.
You did like give a lot of like good. I don't know the word, but
Good tips.
yeah, not just tips, like everything, like
Aw.
rules and um, basic things that would like seem easy, but if you don't apply them, your things would go in the wrong way.
Hmm. Yeah, well, glad that you got something out of it, at least. I'm not like
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm not nearly done yet. I'm just doing like um I'm just doing something. It's well, we've only been like recording an hour, so
Yeah, already.
yeah. It's like normally I move a lot faster because I'm not talking at the same time. So
I
like
mean, I can.
now I've basically like chosen, okay, I like this one the best, that one. So now I'm going to do another one of this, and I'm just going to like figure out, okay, so what are the things that I like about this one, right? I'm just going to take the things that I like, I'm going to copy those, and then I'm going to look at all these others and like, okay, what do I like about these? And I'm like, I'm going to like going to apply those things as well.
Yes, yes. There's a good thing they do in the industry, like especially in concept art, when they have a
Mm-hmm.
good idea and like the lead concept artist approves it, they usually they take that idea and then they make a lot of variations from it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that pushes the concept so much than the
Mm-hmm.
actual original, even though it looks good.
Yeah.
Exploration is so beneficial.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could just do another 6 or another 12, just like these colors and just alternating the pattern and seeing what I like best. Right? Because I could do tiger stripes. I could do that. I could try
Yeah.
that, and that might look really cool. Actually, I'm gonna try that. But like, see, it's stuff like that where you're like, okay, so I'm gonna like, and now I'm noticing, okay, that's going to look too cluttered. That's going to give a 2 different patterns, and that's going to look too cluttered, so I'm not going to do that, right? But I could do like a lot more of these and just, you know, sketch them out and like get an idea, get a feel for like what do I like about this one. And I would do that, but you know, I'm not. I like this one. I think it's good enough. And it's not like I'm making like a character for like a really big
Yeah.
film or something. Like I think this is good enough for what I want to do. And you know, I don't have to spend hours upon hours of doing this just to create a character. If I like this best, then I'll just, you know, that's fine too.
100%.
Yeah, it's
Already
also
looks
like
good.
it's important to like pick your battles as well. If you're like, okay, well, um I don't know, I don't want to be like spending 12 hours on this character. I just want a cool character for now, right? And maybe I'll change it later, right? It's not like I'll never alter this design ever again. You know, maybe next
Yeah.
time I draw him, I'll be like, okay, but I like, I'll change this because I like this better, right? Or something, you know? Does that make sense?
Of course. Of course. I don't know. Exploration is like, especially when you explore things, you need to like move fast. Putting ideas on paper
Yeah,
actually
and not
makes
getting
you
too attached to them,
more
right? That's very
creative.
important.
Sometimes, yeah, I just rush and just draw whatever, and from that little doodle, I get out something that I never like thought of.
Hmm.
Just comes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like when you start, like as me, when I started, I was very like a perfect, like I perfected everything. I tried to perfect everything, and that made my work look static, dead, not creative.
Yeah, that's going to make it very stiff.
Yeah. And as soon as I learned to like be fast and not care as much as like how good my drawings are, that's
Hmm.
when I opened another door and I was
Yeah,
able to.
that's exactly how you get faster and how you get better. Because what I could have done, right, with my gestures, if I just turn these off, I could have spent a while on this first one trying to get it exactly right. But I think I learned much more from just jumping to different references and different poses and trying to figure out, oh hey, how does this look, right? And then go back and see, okay, so this is what it should look like, kind of, right? At least kind of. And that's how you can see the improvement from this one to that one.
Oh yeah.
I think I improved much. I think this one looks better. And I think it would have. I wouldn't have gotten to this level if I just kept erasing and kept trying again and kept figuring it out. I moved on and I did a couple others and I came back to it, right? So it's really important to do stuff like that.
And it just like makes your visual library bigger and bigger.
Right,
Just
exactly.
get used to things.
Hmm.
Was there anything like I could have improved, um, or no? Could I've been better when I rendered? Like, was there something I could have improved while I was rendering?
So I think the render, it's a result of the planning that you do up front. And if you do little planning up front, the render is not going to look as good as if you were to have, done more stuff like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think rendering, it's a whole different skill in and of itself. So like this one looks a lot better than if I were to have done just gone with this sketch and started
Oh yeah.
and just rendered this one, right? If I just did this one and spend a little bit more time on it and rendered it, it wouldn't look good.
That's
Right?
the thing that I did. I went with the bad one because like I didn't do it too much, and I didn't like find solutions, this and that before I went to the render, and then I went, and it was too late. Basically, I just couldn't go back. I
Right.
spent too much time in it.
Yeah.
So,
So
so
like all the time that you spend sketching, um, is like very very productive. So I'd rather spend much more time sketching than rendering, because it makes my designs better.
yeah, and that's, I mean, what we can get from this, it's like if your foundations are right, your everything's gonna get like
Exactly. Yeah.
gonna be good. Yeah, whatever you do, it's gonna be good if your
Hmm.
foundations are right.
Yeah. So I've done the design right now. This is my design, and I'm going to go with this one. So I'm going to copy.
Oh, good.
Thank you. And I'm going to paste. And we're going to hide this one. And we're going to do the same thing again. Right,
So you're
this
gonna
time.
stay with the same design, but you're just gonna change it a little bit, right?
Yeah, that's something that I could do. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move on because I want to. I like the way this one looks, so I'm I'm fine with it, right? I like this design. I'll settle on this design.
Yeah.
Oh, what's happening? Hold on. So now I'm going to move on to composition and to my final piece. I'm going to start thinking about my final piece of this character, right? Because if I wanted to do something more, hold on, this is not good. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking and doing stuff at the same time. That's not good.
Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to do this. This is going to be composition. And I'm going to sketch again. I'm going to just grab my color. Just grab this one. And I'm going to make a couple composition thumbnails because I'm going to go for a final piece. And I'm going to make something. And I want to make something cool. Right? So I'm just going to do it like
Thumbnailing is one of the most like important things in the process. Especially in the beginning. Yes, you're doing it now, but you did it with the gestures before. It was kind of thumbnailing. I don't know. It's one of the most helpful things. If you don't do it,
yeah,
don't
I would
expect.
call all of this thumbnailing. Actually, it's just a sketching process, basically. Yeah, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to get my basic idea out of the way. I could just have him sitting there and like framed by clouds. Yeah, something as super simple and easy as that. Or I could do something else. Because I want this pose, right? I want this pose. That's the thing that we're going with.
So, did you use like the clouds to like direct the eye to him?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because basically, in composition, using arrows is a really good thing to guide the eye. Because this one it's based. These are arrows. They're pointing at him, and they guide the eye.
Yeah, and you can use it with branches, like rocks, rivers, or like trails.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I can see that you're using the rule of like the grid, the lines that cut themselves.
You mean like this one?
Right. You use it. You put the focus point on like one of them, and it's just like something. Is it like psychology?
It's a golden ratio, basically.
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's.
I mean, I know the two ones, the grid and the like the one with like turbine or like I don't know. It goes
yeah,
like
it's the same thing. It's the like this thing, right? Hold on. How do you draw this thing? I think it's like this or something. Where it's
And
yeah.
they use it a lot in movies, and that's why it's good to like study scenes, which I do a lot.
Yeah. True. So like I can do like an ocean behind it, right? So this is like sand and dunes and stuff, and we've got like an ocean here.
Yeah, and drawing small doesn't makes you like not being able to detail too much and spend too much time. It's really helpful.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do the clouds again, but this also means like I want to focus on making stuff more diagonal, right, and more organic. Because if it's just like I had it just now, it's too static. So I want to have this is a really good trick that one of my teachers taught me is that if you have a why is this line more dynamic than this line? It's because if you were to put like an orb on it, like a ball, this one implies motion. This one, nothing will ever happen to this unless there's like someone kicking it or something. This one will stay like this unless something happens to it, but this one will go down. And nothing has to happen to it. That's why these lines are that's why it's good to use these lines in your compositions, because they imply motion, and that's how you get more dynamic
That's a good
lines.
tip.
Right? It's
I need to-
really good.
Oh wow! I never heard of this one. This is really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, or I could do something like this. Do a portrait. Right?
Right.
And I could, you know, try something with, like, maybe the horizon is here.
Yeah, I got you.
And this is the ocean. And you have him in the foreground. And also you're seeing, like, I'm not putting any detail in this. I'm just, you know, doing...
Yeah, and for someone like from outside, he's gonna think this is just doodles. But if you know the rules, you'll know that this is
Mm-hmm.
it shows the ideas.
Yeah.
It's a trait to like learn and understand these things. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't come by its own.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
do you see what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
I'm making him off center. So this is
Going
also
back to the
yeah. So now he's off center because he was in center first, and this looks more interesting. Also, like I should like maybe have him higher up.
he's doing a selfie.
Yeah, pretty much. And then maybe the ocean a little bit lower. See?
You're leaving that space for like the eye to rest, I think. Or not.
Yeah. So negative space is really quite important. So I could like it does look like he's taking a selfie. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So like it's this is more interesting than this, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you have a boring shape here with a boring shape here. But if you do something like this, it's more interesting. Because it breaks up the monotony and it implies depth.
Yeah. To be honest, like
I can't unsee it, he's taking a selfie.
yeah. Oh yeah. When I started like drawing some months ago, or a year, I don't know. For example, if I drew a muscle, I draw maybe a ball and then another like a longer ball, etc. And it was wrong because to show like something is on top of another, sometimes you need to, how do you say, like delete the things that like separate it, like to show connection and that it's on top of it, like volume. I don't know how to explain it. Gosh, English. I need
Take your time.
to start like speaking French or whatnot. Yeah, so same horizon, just like another.
Yeah, so what I'm doing now is I'm telling a story. I'm framing the character, so it's like somebody, because this is the foreground, right? Somebody like stumbled upon this and he's just looking at you because he heard you coming. So now he's looking in your direction, basically. And I like this framing because it feels like something is missing here because this shape is not quite broken up yet.
Exactly, and again, I love how.
Yeah, I don't like this as much because he's still like it's like so somebody is like came from the top because maybe it's something like this and somebody is here, right, and somebody's standing here and looking down, right? That is what this looks like, but I want something else because I don't want the viewer to be looking down at him. I want the viewer to be looking up at him because he is intimidating. Right, he is cool and calm, and he doesn't look like he's friendly. And so if you do it like this might as well be a baby seal, right? That would work better because it doesn't. This composition implies that he is small, and I want this guy, you know, to be big. This one implies that he's much bigger, and this one implies that he's much bigger.
Right. That's why you use in movies. Sometimes when there is like a
Yeah.
strong villain, the
Yeah,
camera
it's
is always.
called
Yeah.
a frog's perspective and a bird's perspective, because this is a bird's eye view, and then a frog's. I don't know if that's what it's called in English as well, but the frog's eye view is from like here's a frog, and he's looking up at the person who's like standing here, right?
Exactly. That's like a very strong composition tip.
Yeah,
That's why, like, if a villain is beaten, the camera will be like up on him, looking down, because he's not powerless.
he's lost his
Not
power.
powerful.
Yeah, he's lost his
Yeah,
power.
exactly.
Yeah.
Composition has like a lot of rules. I think. How do you like go about learning it? Do you just like experiment?
Well, for composition, it's really it helps to be aware of the rules. So I really think that with composition, especially, it's good to have like to follow tutorials. So like I got a really good lecture on composition, like I mentioned, and that's where I learned a lot of rules, and now I'm applying those rules, and those rules are making my art look better. And I think it's much more important to know the rules when it comes to composition than it is to know the rules when it comes to anatomy, because with anatomy you can kind of get away if you just use shapes, right? Like I've been doing. It looks fine. And it's not as important as the rules for composition, because if you do not know the rules for composition and you just go with your gut feeling, like something that I did here, it will look flat. It will look boring. So like if you start to like kind of experiment more, this you come up with better ideas.
100%. Composition is very strong because you can actually use it to like portray action and storytelling. It's one of the things they use, obviously, to before they go shooting in movies. They use thumbnails like these exactly just to show like the scene, how it's gonna be, how it's gonna feel. Do we want to make the viewer feel sorry for the character? Do we want to make, is this a happy scene, etc.? And there's a lot of things that you can like tell with just composition. It's
Yeah,
very,
for sure.
very useful.
For sure.
I mean, you may not need it as much as when you're starting, because you'll be more worried with like the actual fundamentals. It's one of the fundamentals, but you need to worry about like perspective, anatomy,
Yeah, it's a
color,
more
lighting.
advanced. It's a more advanced thing.
Yeah, you can do it, but I mean, personally, I would suggest like focusing on other things than moving to it, because it's going to be easier if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, just like what I'm doing here, just focus on learning one thing, and then move on to the next thing, right? Because I didn't just start with my final piece. I didn't start with my final piece because I'd have to worry about the anatomy, I'd have to worry about the design, I'd have to worry about the composition, all in one go. And that's when I'm spinning plates. And I don't want to be spinning plates. I just want to be spinning one plate at a time. It's not like all of them at once, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, if you don't know how to draw something in perspective, you like composition won't help you if you can don't know how to look, you know?
Yeah. So I like this one. Maybe I'll do the trick with the clouds again to frame him.
I love the one left to it because the ground, it follows the branch. I love what you did with the little branch, gives flow to the image.
Yeah, that's right. But I don't want to do that here because I'm kind of like, I want to get a more of like a beach type of feel, right? And there's not that much plants on the beach. So I'm just, figuring out different things and like taking what I like about one thing and just applying it in a different spot, because I liked the See how this is just a pretty much an amalgamation of the good things from each thing, from each thumbnail that I have so far. Because
Yeah.
I got the clouds from this one, I got the depth from this one with the like the hills going up and stuff. I got the breaking up the horizon, like the perspective from this one. So like here's the sea and he's here.
Yeah.
And I got the framing from this one. Right? So it's
It's correct.
So I like this one. This is kind of this is how I go about like studying this type of thing and like figuring out stuff. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, and he seems really happy and friendly from this angle.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, from if you do it like this, but I'll have him like looking down. So it's like he's just like this basically. If you were to draw a human,
Yeah.
they'd be like looking down at you, like so. If you have the character like this, and it's more like scowling type of thing, right? It's like I'm above you, right? Or like I'm bigger than you. I'm looking down at you, basically.
Yeah.
And if you he looks very like just mildly annoyed, but if you have like something cooler, then that will work. That's kind of the impression I'm going for. But if you look at him like this, he looks more like a puppy tilting his head like so, you know, like he's just like.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Actually, yeah, I heard like tilting faces means comfort, and that gives like
true.
a vibe.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the composition that I think I want to go with. I could do another one. I have space over here, but I think this is the one that I want.
Yeah, pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
So move on. Yeah, that's
So,
why.
Yeah.
Move
That's when we'll move on to the next thing.
Alright.
I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to grab this one.
And like everything you're doing right now, like makes mileage. Like you get better, it's easier, faster.
Yeah, exactly. And even though, like, we're doing this, we've been doing this for an hour and a half, basically. And so it's not as it feels like a lot of prep. Hold on, what is this sound?
I mean, not really, because I'm kind of used to some of this, and it just becomes like a habit, to be honest. That's when it gets fun. Just like you know.
Very true. But like what I'm saying is that most people might be like, okay, well, all this stuff, I just want to. This feels boring, right? I want to get onto like the fun stuff, like making the final piece, making the final render. Oh. But that's no good.
I mean, you won't like make a car like the first day. You're gonna get signed to it, and yeah, same thing.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that maybe people will be like, well, but I want to get something done, right? I want to see results. I want to go onto the final piece right away. But if you do that, you skip over all these steps, and basically what you'll be doing is you'll be trying to figure out all these different things at the same time. And like we mentioned before, that's just not going to work.
Right, and you even may like come up into like some issues, and you can't avoid them because you didn't prep for them.
Right, you didn't prepare them, and you didn't prepare for them, and that's yeah. If you the more time you spend sketching and the more time you spend preparing, the more like you're setting yourself up for success, basically. That's what you're doing.
Yeah. Plus, like I said earlier, ideas get clearer the more you work on it, and this just makes it better and better and better.
Right. So
I mean,
now,
I know.
now I'm moving on to the values. I'm going
Yeah.
to just throw in the values and basically like figure out, okay, where do I want the lights to be? Where do I want the darks to be? Right? How am I going to do that?
So I want to ask you, lighting. It's same as composition in a way. You can tell something with lighting, right? Or
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell a story with lighting. Color theory is also a like we briefly mentioned with like the bright red one and the darker one. It tells it does tell like a mood or an emotion. It conveys something. If you have like very dark lighting, it's going to look the mood is going to be different than if you have like very bright and happy lighting.
yeah, and always like think about contrasting everything with something else, from colors, shapes,
Right,
atmosphere,
exactly.
everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I already get
Oh,
like warm feelings on this one.
you get what kind of feelings?
The warm feelings, like the beach, you know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because of the shadows, very, very hard shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, good touch.
Yeah, see, so this is one thing that I could go with. Also, definitely, if you're interested in like values and you're not sure how to do values, go watch what is it called? Oh man, I think I forgot, but it's one of the Tim Burton films, and it's all in black and white, and it's really the values are so good. They're done so well, and because it's black and white, you can really tell, like, oh, if you've ever seen a black and white photograph, that's what it looks like, and it's stop motion.
Yeah.
What is this called? It's something with a dog. Let me look it up.
When you start like drawing things and rendering, it's really useful to start with only
Frank
value.
and Weenie, that's it. That's the dog. That's the film. Go watch
Sorry,
Frank and Weenie. I'll like.
Frank and Weenie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. What's his name? Marco Bucci. He has one that is very good on values too.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a really good good film. So like, make sure you watch the stop motion film. There's a live action
Yeah.
film also, but just watch the stop motion one.
And like, I gotta say that one of the driest trainings that you're doing are the most useful at the end. These are the things that will make you better at the end. The
Right.
most dry,
Mhm.
most boring.
Yeah. Mhm. So next I could try something at night time, perhaps. So yeah, same with this one. I'm just like throwing ideas out there. It doesn't have to be good. I'm just like doing stuff that I think might work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is
already
definitely
much
something that
better.
I need to do more. I need to study black and white photographs and like see how do values look at different times of day.
Yeah, and you gotta always like remember atmosphere. A basic rule is that like the further things are, the less saturated and contrast they
Very
have.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, just get pale.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember there is like a option in cameras called HDR, right? If you know about it.
Probably.
Yeah. So what HDR does, it makes everything saturated and contrast, and it removes atmosphere with like AI or stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And studying that actually kind of makes you bad at values because true life doesn't look like that. And if you wanna
Right. Yeah, you
more
need to like
realistic
maybe
stuff,
take your own photographs and just put a black and white filter over it, or just
exactly.
take Google photographs from Google and put a black and white filter over it. So don't be too like, don't get too attached to photographs other people have made, because that's also sometimes it's also secondhand reference, and you really want first-hand reference whenever you're like working on stuff. You want stuff from real life.
Yeah, that's what like real life. It makes things look right. You may have amazing perspective, anatomy, but if if you don't know how real life looks, your things will look weird and not alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that a lot.
Yeah.
It just needs time to like fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm done. I like the first one best, and sometimes that happens. We're like, okay, I'm not really sure what to do next. I don't really think I can do anything better with this. I like the first one. Let's just move on. Right?
And like because you explored, you can definitely take some ideas from others and merge it.
Right.
If you were not happy and you were
Mm-hmm.
doing something.
Exactly. Like if I'm like, oh, I don't like any of these yet, I'll just go on. And like the more you do of this, the better you'll become. But I find, you know, sometimes I'm like, okay, well, I'll like know when I'm done. Or like I do not feel like I need to spend like much more time on this, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, because
But
I want to get on with the like the final thing as well. You know, it's not like on yeah, it's not. I could spend hours upon hours on every one of these, and it would probably look better. But I also feel like you get the most out of it if you do it, and if you like actually do a couple, that will help a lot. But if you do even more, I don't know. It's just it's difficult to explain.
it's really important to know when to stop.
Yeah,
It's
true.
really, really important.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we humans love to like perfect everything we do, and I don't blame ourselves, but sometimes you need to just like stop and move on.
Mhm. Yeah, true.
And I mean, sometimes you can stop and it's good because you have experience, and that just doesn't come by its own. You need to draw a lot and try things, fail and fail and
Right.
fail to like get it on and make it part of the process.
True. Yeah, very true.
So now, what you gonna do?
I'm going to do the colors next, and that's my
For
last. Yeah, for the final piece.
alright.
And that's my last step. And after that, I think we'll just hang up the call, and I'll like do I'll do the final piece when I have time for it. Because it's also good to like step away after like 2 hours, and like 10 minutes from now we'll have been at this for 2 hours.
Yeah, Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but
Great.
I'll do the colors first. I'm not going to like stop right away. But so it's like it's good to step away after you've done this and just kind of, you know, let the prep be the prep, and then move on to the final
Yeah.
piece after you. Yeah. So don't power through.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
Business people, like, they have 90 minutes of work, 20 minutes of rest, 90, 20.
Yeah, I could also like step away now, wait 20 minutes, and then come back to it. But I'm too tired, and it's already getting a little bit late, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to do the responsible thing and just, you know, do step away after a little bit. So
Thank you
after
so
that,
much.
yeah. So after that, I'll do the like maybe tomorrow or the day after that, I'll do the final piece. And maybe I'll like grab you and we can hop on call and we can talk about the final piece together if you'd like, or maybe that's enough.
Oh, for sure. I'm loving it. It's really helpful to me a lot, actually.
Oh, cool. That's good to hear.
Very inspiring.
Oh,
Now
nice.
I need to go finish work. Yeah. I have
Yeah.
some like. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Good luck on it.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Good luck. Bye bye.
Alright guys, that is pretty much it for this video. I know it's been a long one, and if you watched all the way to the end, then oh my gosh, thank you so much. I really hope you've enjoyed and like learned stuff, picked up some tips and tricks. Yeah, so as I do the final thumbnails for the colors and stuff, I just wanted to ask you guys, what do you think of this kind of video? Because I actually really quite enjoyed making it. It did take a lot of editing, much more than it usually does, but yeah, it was actually quite fun. And yeah, if you want to see more videos like this, let me know, because, you know, I might do them. Next week I will be taking all these sketches and thumbnails and turning them into one final piece, and that one will be just an ordinary video about, you know, 10-20 minutes long, instead of 2 freaking hours. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more art videos every single Friday. Have a great weekend guys, and keep on sketching. Bye!